going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort, and China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
One of the things you've talked about it, I want to say about 18 months ago on our air, probably March, maybe right when the pandemic was hitting, was your interest in Bitcoin as a hedge.
Bitcoin would be a great hedge.
As an inflation hedge.
Crypto will be a great inflation hedge.
Is it still a hedge at these prices?
Listen, I said then, I said now, I've got crypto in single digits in my portfolio. I have a small trading position in our fund. I do think we're moving into an increasingly digitized world. Clearly, there's a place for crypto, and clearly it's winning the race against gold at the moment, right? So yes, I would think that would also be a very good inflation hedge. It would be my preferred one over gold at the moment.
Paul, on that note, you saw that Bitcoin ETF.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Paul Tudor Jones on CNBC speaking of inflation and the Fed. And is Bitcoin a hedge against inflation? No, we know it's not. We know this inflation was created on purpose, though, so therefore they can destroy the dollar, destroy America, the Babylon. We know this was the plan a long time ago. I've showed you the Anthony Sutton videos on numerous occasions. We know the only tool the Fed has against inflation is to raise interest rates. Guys, can they raise interest rates on this balance sheet? No, they cannot. But they have the solution. That's cryptocurrencies and automation. Automation is going to make everything cheaper. That's why we're going to go through hyper-deflation. And that's the reason why Cathie Wood's ARK Invest is invested in the fourth industrial revolution. They're not worried about what's happening this year, next year. They're worried about 5 and 10 years down the road. It's called investing. And if you're young, if you do the same thing, you'll never have anything to worry about. Now, the talk is, will Jerome Powell get renominated? Guys, we know they want him out, so therefore they can bring someone else in. Why? So they can play the Hegelian dialectic. So therefore they can blame the last chair. And with the Fed about to taper, it's going to destroy the dollar. It's going to destroy the stock market. It's going to destroy cryptos for a short time. And then we're going to see that 1% rise because we saw the blueprint with big tech. Because we know when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Let me just ask you then, is this a warning to Jay Powell? Is that the suggestion? Or is this a warning to investors about how to trade around this issue?
Listen, first and foremost, I'm concerned about the future of this country. So clearly, I think we have maybe the most inappropriate monetary policy that we've seen maybe in my lifetime. We are adding stimulus. We are still quantitative easing when we should be doing just the exact opposite. And we're taking for granted and treating inflation very, very lightly. If you go back, What I think bothers me so much about this particular set of central bankers and all those that parrot what the Fed are doing is they're ignoring the lessons of history. You go back and start reading about the late 60s and early 70s. You had three central bankers, William Martin, Arthur Burns, finally
right.
Paul Volcker. You had two presidents. Do you realize 1974, Gerald Ford addressed a joint session of Congress and said, we're at war, except it's not against humans. This enemy is invisible, but it threatens our society, our home, our people, our life, liberty, and values. A joint session of Congress because of inflation. And that's when he started the famous whip inflation now. So we're just treating it with this cavalier attitude when we shouldn't be. And again, we're ignoring because we haven't seen it in 4 decades.
Do you have any expectation that Jay Powell will not be renominated for this position?
Do I have? I think.
And if so,
I think he probably will be. I don't think he's necessarily the right person to deal with the circumstances that we have facing us. For instance, a quote widely attributed to Albert Einstein is the people that solve the problem won't be the ones that create the necessary conditions for it to exist. So again, this group of Fed spokespeople, they created average inflation targeting. The goal was to get inflation above 2%. Well, guess what? They won that game in a blowout. The problem is, when you're running the Fed, you don't want to blow out in either direction. Blowouts are bad because it creates in people's minds these expectations that things will continue. And the best person who addressed that was Paul Volcker in 2015, said if we follow mathematical models, then what happens is we lose sight of the fact that human emotions are hugely impactful on the way people will continue to believe. So if the inflation genie is out of the bottle, which it is right now, and we don't immediately shift to attack it, we run the risk of getting back into the 70s, where it was the single most important issue for multiple presidents, multiple Fed chairmen. It was pernicious and persistent.
Becky.
This 5.4% CPI is a real eye-opener. It's the highest CPI we've had in 30 years, and of course, it's going to go higher here in the next few months as energy feeds through it. So for an investor in particular, most of this audience, it's absolute death for a 60-40 portfolio, for a long stock, long bond portfolio. So the real question is, how do you defend yourself against it? How persistent will this be? And what does the outlook hold? And there's a combination of structural and cyclical forces that right now are all rolling in the same direction to say that inflation can be much worse than what we fear. So let's just start.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.